Joining me this week is Honeymoon Suite guitar player and songwriter Derry Grehan. Derry, welcome.
Thank you. How are you?
I am doing well. All things considered, I'm calling from Ontario and you are in Illinois.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
so we're, a matter of hours apart. But these days in two different worlds, but I won't even go into that, my friend. What I wanted to talk to you about was Honeymoon Suite has a new single, forthcoming album. Can you tell us just a little bit what's going on with the band?
Well, we're not on the road, that's for sure. The whole, year has been blown out, but we all
Right.
know the reason for that. So we're all, hanging out at home, and we started a new album about a year ago this time, and we've been kind of recording it in bits and pieces down in Nashville, and then we've moved over to England about 6 months ago because our producer's over there now. Johnny and I going back and forth, finishing the overdubs. Long story short, the album's probably about 90% done, and we came back in February, and then the pandemic hit. So we're kind of on hold to be this close to done, but we can't really do anything till we can travel. But in the meantime, we did manage to record enough tracks to release a couple of songs. So we released two singles in the last 6 months. Tell Me What You Want. It was the first one. And then a few months ago, Find What You're Looking For is the new single in Canada. And the thing is just doing gangbusters. We're back on the radio. We're actually charting again in Canada for the first time in a really long time. People love the song, and that's what's going on. Just kind of lucked out. It happened totally organically, and it's a really nice thing to happen during this downtime for us. To get some momentum going till we can back out there and play. And I'm excited to get more songs out there.
Oh, that's great. Congrats. And that's a really positive outlook because I'm sure it's also equally frustrating, right? Because you probably want to play. You've got some great new music. I listened to the latest single and it's great. I'm not surprised why it's charting. So what was that? When did you sort of get the news that you guys are on the charts again?
Well, what happened was it was kind of a fluke that I think we released it, and we have a friend out west, a guy that was involved with one of our festivals a few years back. We helped him out. He was in a jam for a band, and we came in and saved the day for him. So he felt really, not indebted, but he just appreciated that we really helped him out. So he heard the song, and this same guy is involved with a string of radio stations out in Western Canada, and his name is Kurt Levens, I think, and I think he's a program director, or he does something like that. So as a favor, he said, "Look, I'm gonna load your song up. I'm gonna send it out to my stations and have them add it," which he did, and all the stations added it and started getting some traction and some airplay, and then it started charting. So it was very organic in that way, and we really appreciate that he got the ball rolling, and now it's picking up traction and momentum across the country. And I think just people just like the song because I think it's a great song and it fits in with what else is going on there in rock radio. And wow, it's really exciting.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that's really cool about your band's sound is that, there was always a bit of obviously rock, but there was always a new wave influence there. And, that's, it not only is a great song, but those sounds are still really popular right now, I'm hearing a lot more of that kind of 80s sound in music on the radio. What do you think?
Yeah, especially. I mean, even in country music, there's so much 80s. For example, country music last little while has really gone rock and 80s sounding. I think after the 90s, I think people wanted to be happy again and to hear uplifting music, and that's why our songs have withstood the test of time. They're still getting airplay after 30 something years, but I don't know. I can only speak for Honeymoon Suite, and our brand is just melodic rock, big choruses. Johnny's still singing great, and we're staying true to our brand. It's just a song that, again, it's got the big uplifting chorus. It's got a great message, especially for these these times, and but at the same time, it doesn't sound dated. We've got a guy named Mike Crumpus who we're working with. He's our producer. He's actually a Canadian guy from Toronto, and grew up listening to our band. He knows our sound. He's a fan, but he's also has his ear to the ground. He produces a lot of new pop stuff in that, so he's very hip to all the new sounds and production techniques. So he took what we had and he kind of updated it and made it very cool.
You know, and speaking of brands and having that sound, because yeah, you couldn't put it better. It really sounds genuine. It sounds just like you guys have sounded, right? And I really noticed that right away when I listened to it, and it's great production too. You know, for yourself, you know, in the early days of Honeymoon Suite, what was the kind of music you were into? I mean, this is what, late 70s, early 80s before you joined. What were you doing? What were you really into at the time?
Well, early 80s when I first joined Honeymoon Suite, you know, we were doing a lot of cover songs, but of those, you know, there's a lot of bands. I mean, I'm a big Van Halen fan. My favorite guitar player is Ritchie Blackmore. That's who I started listening to when as a kid, when I first started playing guitar. All the Deep Purple records, I love them. Alice Cooper, Santana. I mean, if you're talking about growing up, those were my biggest influences. But in the 80s, I mean, Van Halen came along and just put so much humor and innovation back into the art of guitar playing that it was exciting to listen to him play. And that band was just so refreshing when they came out. You know, Billy Idol, and there's just so many great 80s bands that came out. You know, they had great guitar players. Just stuff that was, for me as a writer, I just like bands with great songs.
Yeah, and you know, you guys started in and around Ontario, London, Toronto, areas like that. Did you have to do covers all night? Was it 3 sets, or like how did that was
yeah. Sometimes it was 5 sets, man. Like if you were a cover band in the early 80s in Ontario, then you would do these 6-nighters, you know. You'd go up to Sudbury for a week and then over to Kapuskasing and then on to Elliott Lake. This would be your tour, you know. You play Monday to Saturday, 3 sets a night, usually, sometimes more, all covers. And then you do a matinee on Saturday. It was brutal. But that's just what you had to do to make your $200 a week. But at least you were working, you know. But at that time, when I first joined with Johnny, I had a few songs, and one of them was New Girl Now that he really liked. So we learned a few of the songs because we wanted to be an original band, and we started sneaking them into the set. We just didn't announce them, you know. We'd play a Billy Idol song, and then we'd play New Girl Now, and nobody knew the difference. They just thought it was just another cover song. So that's how we kind of got going as an original band and kept working.
Yeah, and I've heard some very similar stories from Canadian musicians and from that time, and so how does it happen then that you go from cover band to original act? How does that happen? You just book original shows and off you go, or how does it?
No. I mean, with us, it was the Q107 Homegrown contest that really kind of changed the landscape for us. We had a day off and between 6-nighters, and we came home on a Sunday and we went into a studio, a little demo studio in our producer's basement, and we cut New Girl Now and Funny Business and Face to Face. I think 3 tracks that ended up on the first album. But we did a little 8-track demo of New Girl Now, and the Homegrown thing was happening at the time. So that was one of the places we sent the song. And I mean, we sent it around to the labels as well, but it went to the Homegrown contest. And people just loved it. It won the contest that year, I think in 82 or 83. Started to get airplay and again, some, you know, a buzz around town about the band. So that brought the labels out to our gigs. And eventually we, Canada, signed us to a deal based on New Girl Now and a few other songs. You know, the timing was just right. And we went in and cut our first record like in 2 weeks in Toronto. It came out, went double platinum, and it just exploded. Plus we had the help of Much Music too and MTV, which was just starting up at that time. So videos were the thing as well, where they were probably half the reason of our success. It's just timing, just so many great things happening at once, you know, and we jumped on it and we got really lucky.
Yeah, I think it was a great time, and again, a lot of people reference Much Music and or MTV and the help that television brought in the early '80s scene, and in Toronto and Vancouver around that time, it was really exciting. There was a lot of bands coming out from both of those cities and across the country, right? We
Yeah.
had, and I think there was a little bit of a wave in the early '90s too, where there was a lot of good stuff happening. And then, in my opinion, things just were never quite the same. What do you think it's like now, trying to get signed or to get known? It's different, obviously.
I don't know. I don't think I'd want to be a baby band right now because it seems that there's so much content out there, so much music, because everybody's recording at home and anybody can put out a song or an album. It's hard to get heard above all that noise, and there's so much pop on the radio, which isn't bad, but I just don't think there's that much rock that's going on that's really popular. So, gee, I don't know. I think a lot of these kids, they're YouTube sensations and, they get all these views, but you still have to have enough music to sustain a career. And for me, it was always being in a band and playing live. Like we did it old school. We got our band together and we played the crappy hotels and we lived together and we worked hard for a couple of years just living on the road, eating, mac and cheese. But that makes for a really good, solid band, and we honed our show, and we were a great live band. So to me, if I was telling a kid, I'd say, man, get yourself a great singer. You've got to have a singer and a front man, that voice, and you got to have great songs. Put your band together and get out there and play in front of people, and don't sit in your bedroom.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you, you've written a lot of the songs, primary writer for the band for years. And what's your process? You're obviously a lead guitar player, but you write songs too. So what's the order? Different kinds of order, lyrics, words, melodies, guitars. How do you approach it?
There's really no rules. I think with me, I just pick up my guitar and I play every day and I just noodle and I just mindlessly kind of play and riff, and out of that a riff will start or a chord progression, and then over that I'll hear a melody, like a top line, which is really catchy, and then from there the lyrics usually follow off of that, just mumbo jumbo out of my mouth, or something that, like a catchphrase, is all I need to start a song. If I get that little catchphrase there that might be the hook of the chorus, then I know that's right, and I'll sit down and I'll build the verses around it. Once I have the subject, then I just think on it and I write the lyrics around that and build me a song. And I try and do it quickly because those are the best songs, the ones that I think that I don't labor over and I do quickly. If I get frustrated, I put it away and move on and come back later.
I was just going to ask you that. What was the fastest one? What one just came together real quick?
Probably New Girl Now, if I recall. I mean, I wrote that a long time ago when I was in college, when I was like 21 or 20 years old, and sitting in my kitchen in London, Ontario, where I was going to school. And I just started playing the riff, I was really listening to the Cars were big then, the first Cars or second Cars album was out, and I love that sound. So New Girl Now sort of is influenced by that. Once I got a New Girl Now over those chords, then the rest just kind of came to me without thinking, just stream of consciousness, Sometimes they come like that. Just I'll write down words that are pure nonsense, but then I'll come back later and go, well, they're not so bad.
And coming back to the band, so obviously you guys are just kind of playing, like all of us, a little bit of a wait and see kind of game right now, right? So how are you, just in contact with the guys and with your manager and just waiting to see?
Yeah, it's all we can do. It's like I said earlier, all this radio stuff and the single and that is really nice to kind of fill the void. And we're all waiting like everybody else. I'm talking to my agent every week. There's a few kind of attempts at gigs, these drive-in things. We're getting some offers, right, but we haven't taken any yet because it hasn't made sense. We may not we may not play till, you know, next year, a year from now, or maybe 10 months from now, which is really hard for me to fathom. I'm going to go nuts, but as soon as we can, you know.
Listen, Derry Grehan, Honeymoon Suite guitar player, thanks so much for joining me. We're really looking forward to hearing the rest of the album, and hopefully in whatever form it's going to be, we'll get to see you guys playing live ASAP.
Yeah.
Thanks
Hopefully
again.
sooner than later. Thanks. Great talking with you.